Hello, I hope you are doing well. I want to talk a little about identity, but not identity as in who you are per se, but identity is who you want to be and also who you might not know you want to be. Welcome back to Amongst the Lilies. I'm your host, Malmy, and I want to talk a little bit about identity. And by the end of this video, you might feel like a different person, or you might feel like becoming a different person. There are no wrong answers here. You know, people do change, and I think we go through certain phases of our lives where we find new interests, we meet new people, and we evolve and change because we experience more life and it causes us to question things and reflect and it causes us to readjust sometimes. I think a lot of something that Caleb Hearon, the comedian, says, where he'll say something so outlandish as a joke, like something mildly controversial, and then he'll be like, sorry, I was just trying that one on. I was just seeing how that one felt. We'll workshop it. I love the idea of trying on different selves. It's like a form of play, really. And play is how we end up creating new things as humans. So it is very important that we partake in that. I also think of something I did when I was younger. I was in college. I was invited to this party where I knew that I would not know anyone. I did not know anyone, and I was nervous. But have you ever convinced yourself to be excited instead of nervous? Because if you realize that excitement is just positive anxiety, you can kind of flip flop, which is interesting. But I got myself hyped up for this party. And the way I did it was being like, this is no stakes. No stakes. I never have to see these people again. I can act however I want. I got curious and I do not think I'm a sociopath. This is not something that I do. Okay, this was very much a one-time situation where I did this. I do regret it, but I also think that more people should try something akin to this to see how it feels. But I decided I would be harsh. Not like horrible, hateful, or anything like that, but I was gonna pick on people, which I don't really do often. It can come out occasionally, but I was going to just let loose and get angry if I got angry, if I had a reason, and just not be afraid that people would think I'm rude, essentially. If I felt like getting out of a social interaction, I would just leave. Things like that, which I am very much a people pleaser, and so it was just so against my nature, but I was like, I'm going to try this. I just want to see what happens. The thing I did not consider is that yes, I would be running into those people again, at least a few of them. And what do you know, when they actually met me outside of that, they were like, "You are not the person I met that night." And I was like, "I know. I was trying something on." Don't deceive people, okay? Like that is not a good idea. But what I'm talking about, the part of this that was important, I think, is testing the waters, like going outside of what you naturally do a little bit. Just a little bit. Just dipping your toe a bit. Like who would you be if you didn't care about being seen as rude? Who would you be if you didn't care what people thought of you? What would you wear if you weren't afraid of the male gaze? Or you just didn't have that constantly in the back of your mind of like the men that are gawking at you. You know what I mean? Who would you be if the current constraints that have you acting the way you do were gone? Because a lot of those constraints are imaginary or habitual or taught by your family. They're constructs. You can kind of throw them out if you want to. See what happens. See how you change, how the people around you react to you. You might realize a lot. You might realize that you actually do want to be a different person than you currently are, at least slightly. And there's less punishment for doing so than you thought. I also think that traveling can be a really great way to practice this because you will go places where you probably never run into those people again, or at least it's a lot less likely. This was in a town that I have lived in for almost 10 years now. So, yes, I did run into those people later in life. Okay, let's break this down a little bit because the way that I'm describing this right now feels a little rebellious and like mischievous when this can actually really help you become who you want to be, okay? So, something I've talked about in another video is how if there's a certain way you want your life to go, you need to act like that is your only option. If you act like something is a life or death matter, you are much more likely to get there because your brain essentially sees the path to get there because you have no choice. Think about if you're in a life or death situation or a life-changing scenario where you have to figure it out or it's sink or swim, right? You have to figure it out or fail and maybe lose everything or lose things that are important to you. So it's like, even though this is a situation where you're becoming something that you want to be and you're currently in a place where maybe you're comfortable but stagnant, you still do have something to lose. And it is yourself. It is the part of yourself that wants something else. It is that something else you could be having. I think that is what we are meant to do in this life is to create the lives that we dream of. Like point blank, it's to explore and become. Yeah. So, in that vein, when there is a type of person you want to be, what you can do to get there is to imagine how that person would be. What would they do? What would they do on a daily basis? Who do they hang out with? How do they talk? How do they act? What is their routine? And then you kind of can see maybe it's not so far off from where you are now. You can see the steps to get there. Little things that you can practice to be more, to act more like that person. But then here's where I'm going to open this a little bit more. You know, when you meet someone and you envy them like almost immediately, or maybe you have a friend that is like really successful, or you just love the way they dress, you love all these things about them, and you wish you had those things. I think women are so conditioned to see things that we want and like as a threat if someone else has them, and that just isn't what's happening. I feel like we just get confused when we see it as a threat because what's actually happening is you are inspired. You have admiration for this person. It's not hatred. Your insecurity is making you think that, but you're actually just inspired. So, what parts of that person do you love? Maybe that's something you should try on for yourself. See how it fits on you and see how maybe it can become your own. Like, don't copy every aspect of someone else. That's weird. And I've felt like that has happened to me before in the past, but I also have had friends where they do things that I really like and then I'm like, "Man, I was already thinking about doing that. I'm going to do it too. I'm not going to let it stop me." And then we end up having these similarities as friends, but why are you friends with people in the first place? Usually it's because you have similar interests. So it's not that weird. What I'm saying is whether it's another person, like an aspect of another person, or just something you've thought up, if there's a part of you that doesn't feel like you yet, try it on, try it out. Try it out. And the results of it should not be based on what other people think, although that is something you can observe. Obviously, if there are people that you really trust and they have some genuine concerns about the new way you're acting, take that into consideration. But if it's aesthetic or anything like that, like take it with a grain of salt. What you should really be focused on is how you feel trying this new thing on. That is what really matters. And maybe you become a different person. Maybe your friends stop recognizing you. But part of friendship, true friendship, that I think is so beautiful is some people are there for a season, and then some people are there and see you evolve and they love you in every version you become. I told one of my friends the last time that I went over to their house that I really value our friendship, and they were apologizing for us not hanging out that often or not communicating that much or whatever. And I was like, I don't think you get it. Every time I get to spend time with you, it is like, it's like it gains interest. I feel like my becoming friends with them was like a gifted investment, and it ages like wine basically, and it only becomes more valuable the longer I get to hold it, even if we don't get to hang out that much because our schedules have changed and we're both really busy in different ways. It doesn't change that. It doesn't. Like, I miss my friends when I don't get to see them, and I think about them all the time. But I also know that the next time I see them is going to be just as wonderful as the last time. The right people will love you in all the new versions of you that you become. The right people will. So don't be worried about that. Another personal example of self-exploration that I did not grow up watching any horror movies, nothing gory. My family did not want that being played in the house, and I never really watched horror. I remember the first time I actually saw a horror film, it was at a sleepover, and it was called Darkness Falls. It's about this like demonic tooth fairy. It's also a terrible movie, but maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I'll link it in case you want to check it out. I remembered seeing that movie, and I don't know how much of this was, I think part of this was me being neurodivergent. I don't always know how to express emotions, and so sometimes I just will like be silent. The emotions will still be happening on the inside, they're just not expressed outwardly. And in this situation, I was very scared. I was getting very scared and very anxious, but I wasn't screaming. I would like laugh a little bit, but I wasn't doing enough to really like release what I was feeling, I think. I wasn't able to regulate my nervous system, if that makes sense. So I I literally got so stressed out that my temperature rose and I had a fever. I was not sick. The fever was gone by the next morning, but I like overheated somehow. Everybody else was totally fine. Yeah, I was so terrified by that movie. Like, my parents had to come pick me up. I went home and I had to sleep with the lights on for at least a week, if not more. And if you have seen that movie, you'll know that like when the lights are off is when she can get you. So that's a part of the plot. So that's why I could not sleep with the lights off. But at the same time, I was always curious about that kind of stuff. I just, because I had that one bad experience, I was like, I can't do it. But I loved stories about monsters and ghosts. And I grew up in a town where a Civil War battle happened, so there were haunted places everywhere, everywhere. And I loved those stories, and I loved urban legends and everything. I played Pop Tropica and learned about all the different urban legends. I loved mythology. I don't know. And so now that I've gotten older, I've met people who are very into that stuff, into the macabre, into dark things. And even though to most people it does not seem like me, to be into that stuff, I'm very, very interested in those things. I love watching horror movies. Halloween and fall are my favorite time of year. Like, it kind of didn't seem like me. And then those things inspired darker forms of art that I was making. And even me just adventuring out of my normal, vibrant color palette for my art, I got nervous. And one of the prints I made, I actually changed the color scheme to vibrant colors because I was like, people aren't going to buy this. It's not me. It's not my brand. And I don't know why I did that. Truthfully, as an artist, your style is going to come through in everything you make. And if you're trying on a different style, once you make more of those things, it's still going to mesh with everything that you've already done. Like, people see you through your art. So it's just not something I should have been worrying about. And now I freely make the stuff with darker color schemes and they sell really well. One of my best-selling stickers is a sticker that is black and white and it's like a gothic font and it says local villain. And it is a huge hit. It's also one of my favorite things. I actually have a shirt that I printed that on. I made like a lino cut stamp of it. And of course I made a local princess one too, but the local villain one is a hit, obviously. I also have stickers of clowns that are based off of my clown costume, which I showed in the last video. I wear it every single year for Halloween. I wasted time not trying on these different things or like letting these different parts of me come out because it didn't seem consistent with who I've been. I was worried that like the change would shock people because people don't like change. We don't like change. It's you. It's just a part of you that you haven't put out there yet. Okay? That's what self-discovery is. If there is a part of you that you discover because you find a new interest or whatever, that was always in you. You were always predisposed to having that interest, okay? And why are you putting yourself in a box? And why are you letting other people put you in a box? I need you to stop being afraid of becoming new, becoming different than who you are. Because I know you want to, but you have all these worries about like how things will change for you or change for other people if you change. Let me tell you what, you have to. You literally have to. If you feel stuck in life, something's gotta give. Something has to change. I watch a lot of philosophical types of videos. I feel like that's kind of what these ramblings are deep down is philosophy. But it was a woman, I cannot remember her name, but I will tag her. So the video was from Emmy's Existential Zone, and the video was about de Beauvoir's view on existential courage. And what she was talking about is the difference between being a sovereign subject versus willing object or passive object. And that if you have chosen not to choose, you've still made a choice. Choosing to not be who you want to be is still a choice to let someone choose things for you. And in that, I believe that you have lost something. But if you are a sovereign subject, an active subject, then you are choosing to build a world around you and not let it be built for you. It's like when I talk about life happening to you instead of you taking the reins of your life and saying no to things you don't want, saying yes to what you do want, and not being afraid of what that yes means, not being afraid of what that no could mean. Because if you don't choose, it's going to be chose for you, whether you like the outcome or not. So why don't you choose things that lead you to the outcome you want? Why wouldn't you choose that? There are a lot of things that are out of our control and that are chosen for us, and we can't really do much about that. And she also does talk about that, how, like, in the face of oppression, we have to use as much of our sovereignty as we do have. Who can you be? What can you question? How can you rebel? It's either that, or how can you find comfort in staying the same? You have to either get comfortable staying the same or be brave enough to step outside of it. And there's no, I want to correct myself a little bit, because I don't want you to think that there is shame in staying the same. If you have things that you enjoy that you don't want to change, if you have a life that you don't want to change, don't change it. Don't change it. You don't have to be chasing after something if you love where you are. I think about, like, how long people stay in cities. Okay, there are some people that stay in the same state and never even travel to any other country or even any other state in their entire lives. In their entire lives. And even when I was younger, people would tell me that, and I genuinely cannot, I couldn't fathom that. And it's still hard for me to grasp now, because when you think of how vast this world is, it just doesn't. I'm just like, why this one tiny little dot? Why? Why? When there's so many other dots? Why do you want just this one? Why don't you want more? I'm always like, I want to devour life. This life is delicious and short, and I want to take everything I want in this time. And for some people, taking everything they want in this time and devouring their life is actually not leaving town. And that's wild to me. When I meet someone that is devouring their life, I get so, it's not jealous. I'm just like, I need to be around your energy. I need to be around that, because they see life and they see more in everything. They see more in everything. They see more than what simple things can be. They can be simple, or they can be more. They can be boring, or they can be beautiful and profound. And over time, I do think it's beautiful that some people stay their entire lives in one town and are happy that way. Personally, I want to see as much as possible. And back to what I was saying, I think about how a lot of people that do end up leaving town, it's like you are chill for a while. I mean, when I was here for 4 or 5 years, at that point, I was like, I don't want to leave. I toyed with the idea of moving to a nearby state, and then I was like, I feel like I just haven't done everything I need to do. I mentioned this in my first video, that it's kind of like a plant that has roots. And if the roots get to a certain point, they just fill up so much of the pot that they can get, like, smushed, and you can end up with root rot, basically, if you don't repot your plants. And sometimes your plant needs a bigger pot, and aloe will only grow as big as the pot. So if you want a big aloe, you have to get a big pot, because it won't grow any bigger than that. And so to me, it's like, sometimes, depending on the type of plant you are, there's only so much that you can grow in one place before you need to uproot yourself. There's only so much that you can grow before you need to uproot yourself and change the soil, depending on the plant you are. I'm going to give another example. My hair. I love pink hair. I love pink hair. I've wanted it for years and years and years and years. And I finally got my dream pink hair. and I love all the different shades that it has been. And I am finally at a point where I want something different. And I didn't think I would. Pink is a color that I was like, I'm gonna have this my entire life. And you know what color I'm thinking of going to? I don't know if I should keep this a surprise or not. Maybe not. I am thinking about going moss green because I know I would look good in it. I know it would look good on me. I wear that color all the time. And having pink hair also, it has helped me brighten up my wardrobe a bit as well. I feel like it also has acted as like an accessory to my color palette because for such a long time I only had like earth tone type of clothing. Since doing that, I've definitely bought brighter colored clothing, but when I wore those earth tone outfits, the pink really completed it, because I'm very down to earth and chill, but I also am vibrant, and I feel like that just it was so me. It shows me. And so I have been afraid in the past of changing my hair color because when I've thought through this before, I've been like, man, what if I'm not pink anymore and everybody knows me as this artist that has pink hair, and then they're not going to even recognize me? And then what if my business fails because they don't recognize who I am? That's not true. I know it's super irrational, but it's very similar to what I was talking about with my art style. I didn't want to go outside of my vibrant pink, vibrant color art style because then people might not recognize it as mine and they might not want it. But what I had to realize is I make a name for myself no matter who I decide to be. I am iconic because I am me. And if that sounds self-centered to you, go watch my You've Always Been the Cool Girl video because I explain it there. Everybody is a cool girl. You've always been the cool girl. And I have, no matter who I've been, because who I am at my core shines through whatever I decide to put on. Whether that's my art, my hobbies, my art style, my hair color, whatever. And it's the same for you. So don't restrict yourself. If someone was only friends with you because you had pink hair, then they're not someone that you wanted as a friend anyway. Or maybe you start setting boundaries. Maybe you start setting boundaries and they're like, you've changed. Let them go. I've had to do that too. Sometimes changing will actually reveal the things that weren't serving you that you didn't even realize. You gotta shake things up a little to see what shakes out. I think I have yapped enough today. I do want to tell you, if you have been eyeing this shirt that I'm wearing, this really comfy, adorable shirt, I drew that. And it also comes in beige or pink. And I'm very proud of these. I also am someone who is very picky about my t-shirts. I don't have a lot of them because I am so picky about fabric, and I feel like most shirts, especially hoodies nowadays, are not made out of the right fabric. I don't want weird, stretchy stuff that clings to me, and no, I want nice, cotton, loose, airy. That's what I want. None of that synthetic crap. So, I'm very proud about how these turned out, and people have already been ordering them. I'm hoping they won't sell out, but definitely go grab one. I had my friends model for me, which was super sweet. And I have other art. If you don't know me, I'm Malma. I'm an artist and general wizard girl who likes to yap about things. I just have too much going on in my head, so I have to have a YouTube channel. But I also have a monthly mail club where for only $5 a month, you can get a postcard, a cute little sticker, and a side quest. And I am about to mail out August's mail. I'm very excited. I think people are going to love it. So, with that being said, I want to invite you to go do something that you've been putting off. I know it's hot, and most likely it is hot where you are. I would advise, if it's too hot, I've gotten to the point where I won't even open the doors because I don't want to lose the coolness that I've gotten from my AC. But if it's early in the morning or nighttime and it's finally cooled down, let some freaking fresh air in, please. Even if you just open it for a second and get a nice whiff of fresh air, please do that. It's good for your brain. It's good for sleep. It is good for your body. You do need sunlight. Just be careful, because right now it's a little crazy out there. I am so ready for fall. Anyway, all that said, I love you. Go try on a part of you that you have wanted to try. Go dye your hair. Go try a new hobby. Go do something that you have wanted to do, but you've just been afraid someone else was going to judge you for it. I love you. Get off of your phone. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.